This is a video where we are discussing what it is to know thyself and why it is so commonly such an important message that so many people try to get across. You might look at it as sort of egoic in nature to have the consistent focus on knowing thyself. But if you keep it in check, you are not inflating your ego. If you keep it in check, then you are building a relationship with yourself. And that becomes a special part of your nature. Um, you know, this isn't this isn't really to preach anything out of the Bible, but it says in the Bible, in the New Testament, love thy neighbor as thyself. Okay, so that indicates a level of empathy. Like if you were to lose something or somebody in your life, you would be really heartfelt about it, right? And you're supposed to put yourself in other people's shoes that same way, according to the biblical structure, right? And so if you apply that throughout the entire Bible, like uh, love thine enemy as well, so, you know, we're we're already like under the assumption that like we love God, right? And like love God as you love yourself, and love thine enemy. So love Satan, right? Put yourself in the shoes of both God and Satan and see the adversarial happenings that are going on throughout the story of the entire biblical structure. And then all of a sudden the whole book has new meaning. Uh, Everything you thought you knew about the Bible falls apart, right? And uh, you know, if you can put yourself in God's shoes, so to speak, that way, then it's it would indicate what God was saying. Let us make man in our image, right? Like we are gods in that sense of things, right? And this is just following the archetypical structure of the Bible. It's not trying to teach you guys salvation or anything like that through belief in the Bible. I'm just saying like that this is what the Bible does, and it unlocks all of that through the concept of know thyself. Okay? So, you know, I'm not trying to radicalize the concept as much as other videos, but that is just like a teaser, something to tease out what I am getting at in terms of the rest of this conversation. Uh, you know, to me, to know thyself is to look at this life as though you kind of were introduced to it. And the way you were introduced to it was you found yourself in a body that you had to learn things about and navigate the landscape using nothing more than yourself, right? And the idea in the long run is sort of the concept that you are a companion to yourself. Sort of like you are your own servant and your own master at the same time. And having a healthy relationship in that aspect is to know thyself. Okay, so like when you're going through something like depression, you know, the servant dynamic of yourself is probably feeling unequipped for something, or as though not enough effort has been put in on their side, on its side, right? And the master dynamic would be a sort of complacency going on in the back of the mind. So it would be this sense of underachievement that would be the underlying cause of depression. And that can manifest itself in many different formats. But I think that's the core of the problem of depression, and I could use like all sorts of different examples like this, but the idea is that like you are a servant to yourself, but by being a servant to yourself, you are also the master of yourself, right? And so, a good leader knows when to lead and when to follow, right? So that has to do with like your gut instinct, right? Sometimes it's good to follow your gut instinct. There is a time and place with different measures of reality where following your gut instinct is a very good thing. It's a very very keen survival tactic, actually, to follow your gut in most situations, actually. But also using your intellect at the same time so that you don't get caught up in any unwanted drama, because drama just accentuates the gut issues, right? And it never boils down the intellect behind the situation. And so then nothing gets solved until usually like people get arrested or something like that, right? And so um to know thyself is really to develop a healthy relationship with yourself. You know, it's more than just like, okay, I'm gonna get a pen and paper. Like, what are characteristics of myself? You know, like I like these types of foods. I like doing these hobbies. You know, it's not that. It's not that. It's like, who am I? I never really got to know myself. You know, I've been so busy trying to do things for myself, but I've never learned who I truly am and what I truly want, therefore. You know, like I've gotten to know people I thought were my friends, but weren't, like better than I've gotten to know myself. You know, like that could be the situation for you, you know, like, or, you know, like I've spent so much time trying to find these answers that I never asked myself what questions I have. You know, like I've been asking myself these questions to try to please other people. You know, like what can I do to satisfy my own questions? You know, like what can I do to please my own curiosities? Uh, you know, and just that embodies the concept of know thyself. It takes sort of an outsider's perspective of yourself to truly know thyself. Uh, you know, it's sort of like learning your story. You know, like taking a step back and like tallying up everything that you've done in your life and saying like, okay, this is who this equals that I am, you know, and then using that knowledge of yourself, like learning more about yourself and what you want to learn from all of that, you know, like you could live all of your life, you know, believing in anything, you know, like just because you never woke up, so to speak, right? And then suddenly you realize, like, I haven't been even so much as questioning myself on these things. And then have a moment to understand for the first time that you can let go of everything that you thought you knew and start all over and learn everything the way it was meant to be, right? Like we've been augmented into this reality. It's artificial. You know, like we can creatively describe just about anything, but how many things can we realistically do? We're pushing ourselves further and further away with all of our creative boundaries that we're creating for ourselves. Um, you know, like it's kind of like Hansel and Gretel, like we're leaving ourselves like a breadcrumb trail in the middle of a bush, you know, like it's not a very good way to find yourself back home, you know, like, and where we're headed with that, should we get lost, is a sort of, you know, gingerbread house type scenario, you know, where we have the awakening, but then we're trapped because of where we've gone. So just be careful of that. And, you know, just remember the key concept of know thyself is to better develop a relationship with yourself, to realize that you are a companion to yourself.